Hello, today I'm going to share with you my top 10 favorite iOS games, beginning with Amazing Breaker. In this game there's an icy design on the board, very much like all of the ice and snow outside right now. You have to use your bombs and missiles to eradicate all of the ice, and it's very cool because some of the bombs will drift through the structure. Some of them will explode into, shatter into miniature bombs that you can explode with the other bombs. It's really fun. It's very beautifully designed, and it's a joy to see what's coming next because the designers did a fantastic job of creating a visually rich and exciting style of gameplay. Number 9, Tiny Wings. This game is so much fun. In it, you're a bird and you have to glide through these valleys and hills and do these dive bombs and things. And a lot of the games on my list are they're almost like passive kind of mindless games where you can get into the zone. Tiny Wings was very creative in the way that they laid out the levels and added challenge. And some of the challenges seemed insurmountable, but with enough gusto, I pushed through and beat it. And then they added the chance for you to do these races. It's a very fun game. It's so exciting to get into the zone, and you do feel that that thrill of momentum. Number 8 for me is a game called 100 Rogues. And this is an older one, and it's a roguelike game. It was riddled with bugs when I played it, and it would crash every 10 minutes, but I loved it so much that I forgave it for those problems. In the game, it's like a top-down, turn-based strategy RPG. You go into a dungeon, and you have to make your way through the different corridors and destroy the beasties and everything. It's really well done, and what makes it a roguelike is that you kind of get one go with each character. So as you're moving through the game, you're scrambling for resources, and this is always something I thought was really fun. You never quite get enough food, enough weaponry. You always are teetering on the brink of dying, and therein lies the puzzling aspects. You can beat the game, and I think I only did it once, by diving through 4 or 5 different levels of the dungeon and taking on the bosses. A thrilling game for roguelike fans, and hopefully they've updated it and gotten rid of all the bugs. But still, a fantastic offering. Number 7 for me is The Bards Tale. Expertly wrought, exquisitely honed, humorous, and fun. This is a top-down RPG, just drenched in comedy. It's very much it's just kind of a strict RPG, where you're going to different towns and you're taking on the baddies, and then as you explore these maps, you have to take on, tons of demons and monsters and everything, and you upgrade your equipment and everything. And the bard, he can cast these magical spells by playing on his lute, and in that way summon creatures to help him along the way. And it's really fun. The humor is what stands out to me. It would be an exceptional game otherwise, but it's a classic in the genre because the storyline has been crafted so well. So if you're into a very, very humorous and well-wrought game, The Bard's Tale is the one, if you like RPGs. Number 6 for me is a game called Orbital. This also came out a long time ago, and it is spectacular. I don't know how many hours I spent playing this game. It's almost like you're playing pool because you have to bank your shots off of spheres. What you do, you have a long rectangular board, and at the bottom is a zone that you cannot cross or you will lose that round. and you shoot these balls that bank off of the walls and everything, and as soon as they come to a rest and stop, they expand to fill up all of the space. And depending on what they hit, the other spheres that are out there in the playing field, is how big they can get. And what you have to do is hit the balls that you've created enough times to make them explode. And in one version of the game, they will explode and cause damage to the other spheres around them. And then in one mode called Gravity, as you're shooting your balls that turn into spheres, they will be pulled into the gravitational pull of the sphere, depending on how big it is. It's very cool. It's very fun and addictive. The music used to be top-notch and would have been probably some of the top music in iOS gaming, but then they changed it. I downloaded it again recently before making this list, and it's now it's inferior. The music's still okay, but part of the charm is gone. But the gameplay is so simple and fun. This is the hallmark of a great iOS game, something that's easy to play and pick up. I definitely do a lot more iOS gaming than console gaming because it's just so fast and easy to jump into, and that's what I like about these games. It's a way to fill a couple of moments of time while resting. Orbital is spectacular, and I recommend it to everybody. Number 5 for me is a game called Dungeon Raid. Alright, these dungeon crawl type games appeal to me a lot, and there's a bunch of them. There's one called Dungelot that I played a lot, and there's several. I mean, there are a lot. And then this is also in the realm of the match games, kind of like Bejeweled, where you would be matching things to eliminate them off the board. In this one, you're drawing a line through as many different swords or shields or potions as you can, but you have to match your swords to the baddies as they are falling onto the top of the board. Every once in a while, a special monster will come that has special abilities, and like any good RPG game, you're developing your character and you're building up your powers, your defensive abilities, and your magic spells. And there's probably like 20 different spells that can help you in the game, and you'll randomly assign 4 of them per playthrough. And it's also an all-or-nothing roguelike style, get into the dungeon. It's fun, and what's great is the end game. You do all of this development through the playtime, 10 minutes or so, and then as things are crashing down around you, the exciting part is trying to squeeze one more round out by using your skills that you've developed and working on things. Like, this was my commuting game for a long time when I took the bus to commute to my job, and it's a battery drainer. I guess you become aware of these types of things if you're using your device for entertainment on long commutes. But it's really fun, and it's among the top tier of the Bejeweled style games with a fantasy patina, and it's very, very well done. I think there's a free demo version of this one and of Orbital. Number 4 for me is Secret of Mana. This was one of my absolute favorite Super Nintendo games. I remember fondly coming home every single day from school, putting on Weezer's album, the Blue Album, and jumping on the flying dragon named Flammy in the game world and flying around. This was one of the first games where they were using they had just gotten into an almost 3D kind of a thing where you could manipulate where the environment around you would do these like gyrations and things. In computing, it was unheard of until Super Nintendo started having more processing power. But Secret of Mana is like, if you're a fan of the Legend of Zelda series, it's like that. It's a top-down adventure. You have 3 members in your party. One is the kind of like the warrior, the barbarian, and one is a healer, and one is an offensive magic user. It's a very well fleshed out world. One of the major perks for me is the music. Incredible music through and through. For a long while, I thought that the last boss music was the coolest music I'd ever heard on a game. A vivid, colorful world inhabited by well, it's a world in turmoil, you know, and I especially like action RPGs more so than the turn-based Final Fantasy style RPGs, which I also love quite a lot. But if you're into very well developed, fun action RPGs, this is the one to go for, and I can't believe that they brought it out onto iOS. It's incredible. One time, a few summers ago, I was camping every weekend, and this was the only game that I brought with me to play at night in the tent. And I got through about half of the story, I think, because you have to go, of course, to all these different castles and beat all these enemies, and you develop your skill sets. You get a whole lot of spells. It's really, really, really fun. Number 3 for me is Peggle. Something about Peggle just enchanted me from the beginning. It's like the old Price is Right game where you're dropping the thing down the pegs and it's going to land in the bottom. It's another game where you're aiming, you're banking your shots off of spheres. Something about that appeals to me a lot. There's so many different stages. There's a lot of good humor. And just trying one more time to get that level that you couldn't beat is the appeal. They came out with a sequel called Peggle Knights, and I played through all the stages on that. They even came out with it on console, and I've been to people's houses where they had it and spent hours just sitting there and playing Peggle with a group of people, everybody taking turns. It's very fun. There's something enchanting about it. Like at the bottom, there's this like bucket that's moving, and if you can manage to bounce the ball around through all the different pegs and then land in the bucket, you get another ball. If you do a really good job, they reward you with all these firework types of things. So it's got this reward mechanism built in. I played Peggle so much, and I was so hooked on it, and it's a joyful gaming experience. It's got that good mix of randomness and skill, so you really do learn to develop your bank shots and figure out how the ball's going to respond, and you aim it into clumps of pegs. You have to aim for certain colored pegs, so it's really, really fun. And if you do a spectacular job one time, the rewards are huge. Number 2 for me is a game called One Epic Night. Alright, so this is the only endless runner on my list, but endless runners are one of my favorite game styles. So I've played all of them, like Ski Safari and the Subway one and Pitfall, which is also really, really good. So I like both the running forward endless runners and the side-scrolling ones, but One Epic Night is the one that does it for me the most. It's spelled night with a K, and you are running into this dungeon. When I first downloaded it, the controls weren't very good at all because you couldn't adjust your jump. Like, you couldn't stop your jump mid-jump and then dive again, and it was a lot more prickly. It was harder to manage, but still I pushed through. Then they did this grand upgrade where the controls are now spot on. And the way that you develop your guy and get these like trinkets and artifacts that improve his skills, and you can drink potions that give you really fun like bonuses. It's just one of those run down the corridor and swipe to turn and swipe to jump over things and jump over the pits and avoid the baddies, but you also have shields and swords, and there are monsters down there that you have to slay. It's very humorous. The art style is really good. When you're playing through the tutorial, you immediately get a sense of the humor built into the game. Like the classic D&D bad guys like gelatinous cubes are there, but they give them a very comic look. It's a stylized, awesome game. And I played it so much and got all the upgrades, and then I thought, this is too much. This happens a lot. So I deleted it, and I think, I'm going to be productive now. Now I'm going to get away from sitting around gaming. But then, inevitably I would download it again and play through the game so much that I would get all of the skills again and get the get the choice artifacts that make running through the corridors even better and more fun. So I recommend getting the ones that give you more lives. You can get ultimately 3 lives, 3 chances to run. And of course, as you go further, everything gets harder. And I love that teetering on the edge, like every sinew in your body is like poised, and you're just doing these fast, rapid, like impulsive choices. And it occupies the hours so well. Just because you have to be engaged fully. It's one of those gameplay styles, or one of those games where you can't think about anything else that's going on. It occupies every part of your consciousness. And that's part of the escape of games, isn't it? The excitement of being honed, keenly honed on what is taking place. Number 1 for me is Baldurs Gate. This game was mind-blowing to me when it came out on the computer systems. It came around the time of Diablo 2 and games like Ultima Online. And this is an RPG, sprawling RPG. It's one of those like 100-hour games where you build your character based on Dungeons & Dragons rules. It's a 3/4 top-down view. You assemble your party of up to 6 adventurers, and you meet them out there in the world. So you explore the maps. The map system's unique because everything's blacked out when you arrive on each portion of the map, and you have to click, or in this case tap, along the different areas to explore and open up the fog of the unexplored zone. The story's great. It is a dangerous world. Nothing I could say would really prepare you for how dangerous it is. It's one of those save often and cross your fingers types of games. If you think, oh, I'm going to be an awesome wizard and cast all these spells and demolish everything in sight, nope, you're not going to do it in these D&D rules. It's very much the classic 2nd edition D&D wizard that is like crippled and completely ineffective until they gain many levels and a lot of experience. You can only cast a handful of spells a day until your party rests, and then there's always the risk of if you rest, you're going to be surrounded by monsters when you wake up, and you have to battle them without even having your skills being reset. You are immediately dropped into a story, a very vibrant universe, a world that is mysterious, dangerous, and around every corner they've dotted personalities that are really exciting. And like if somebody comes up to you and they say something to you, you're very quickly going to develop a sense of distrust. And so it's this sensation that you could always be slain at any turn. So, of course, I recommend buying a bow and arrow for everybody in your party. It's a game that has a very steep time investment and learning curve, kind of, because you have to go through, everybody who joins your party, you have to look at their stats and their skills and everything and tailor your weapon purchases for that party member. But my recommendation, you can't really play it on an iPhone, you have to play it on an iPad. I really like the touch format a lot better than the mouse clicking. Anyway, my recommendation is give everybody a bow and arrow or a sling, depending on what they have mastery over. Stay well away from the bad guys, put auto pause on, and you're going to be running for the hills so many times. But the challenge is what makes it addictive and fun. And what I used to do when it came out was, like, something about the character builds was very appealing to me. I would constantly be wanting to make a new character and start the adventure anew. It's very, very good. It's one of the best computer RPGs of that era, well before 3D technology had created these first-person shooter-style RPGs that are far better, in my opinion, and more fun. But Baldur's Gate is a different animal altogether. The challenge level is immense, but the rewards are also there. So if you have any interest in D&D or fantasy games, role-playing games in the strictest sense, adopting a role and moving out into a world and unraveling the mysteries, this is the game for you, Baldur's Gate. So there we are, my top 10 iOS games, and thanks for watching.